Entiendo.
A 700-pound muskox can feed a whole village, but it doesn't come easy. The land is wide, the snow is deep, the animal knows how to hide, and the hunters know this will take skill, patience, and more than just a lucky day. Which is exactly why we're out here before dawn, starting the first and most challenging part of the hunt. The snow crunches under our boots as I trudge alongside Nulia and Sikinik at 6 in the morning. There, Nulia points to the ground. Muskox trail from yesterday. I squint at what looks like random dents in the snow, but these hunters see a whole story. Direction, speed, even feeding stops. Apparently I've been walking past animal autobiographies my whole life without knowing how to read them. We follow the tracks across the tundra, our breath freezing instantly. Sikinik stops every few hundred yards, kneeling to examine prints. Fresh ones underneath, he says. New trail crosses the old. It's like trying to read Braille with mittens on while riding a snowmobile. You hear that? Nulia raises his hand. I strain to listen. Just wind. Then I catch it. Ravens cawing in the distance. Ravens mean meat, he explains. They follow the big animals. The ravens are circling about a quarter-mile ahead. It's like following a GPS system that runs on bird calls instead of satellites. As we walk, Nulia points out landscape features. Muskox like that valley, protected from north wind. And see those rocks? They scrape their horns there. I'm starting to think Muskox has better real estate knowledge than my actual real estate agent. I check the wind by wetting my finger. Sikinik chuckles. Wind is always from the east this time of day. My sophisticated meteorological technique has been thoroughly debunked by someone who probably learned weather patterns before I learned to tie my shoes. After an hour, we crest a rise. Sikinik drops to a crouch. Peering through binoculars, I finally see them. 3 dark shapes 800 yards away. Muskox. They look like someone animated 3 of my grandmother's winter coats and sent them out for a stroll. 2 cows and 1 bull, Nulia whispers. The bull is the big one, maybe 700 pounds. To me, they all look massive. Seriously, these things look like walking carpets with attitude problems. The muskox move slowly, pawing at snow to find food. They're relaxed, Sikinik observes. See how they keep feeding? Apparently muskox have about as much situational awareness as I do when there's pizza involved. The hunters plan our approach using hand signals. We go around the left, Nulia decides. Use that depression, then come up behind the rocks. It's like watching a military operation planned entirely through gestures, the world's quietest action movie. The wind shifts, carrying our scent away. Good, Sikinik says. They won't smell us now. My nose stopped working 20 degrees ago, but these guys are reading wind patterns like professionals. As we prepare to move, the muskox continue feeding peacefully. The bull shakes his horns briefly, then goes back to eating. Like customers at a buffet, completely focused on the salad bar, not noticing the restaurant is about to close. Check your gear one more time, Nulia says quietly. Watching these hunters check their equipment is like watching a master chef inspect their knives. Every tool has its place and purpose. The first thing they pull out is their rifles, sleek models that look nothing like the beat-up shotgun my uncle used for duck hunting back home. These babies are specifically designed for taking down animals that could probably moonlight as small tanks if they wanted a career change. Nulia carefully examines his rifle, running his hands along the barrel and checking the scope. 303, he says, patting it like an old friend. Perfect for muskox. I nod knowingly, though my gun knowledge comes entirely from action movies where people never seem to reload. These rifles are single-shot powerhouses, chosen specifically because muskox have skulls thicker than my high school math textbook and hide that could probably stop a small car. The knives come out next. Not the tiny pocket knives I'm used to, but massive blades that look like they mean serious business. Sikinik shows me his knife, a foot-long beast with a bone handle. Made by my grandfather, he says proudly, still sharp enough to shave with. Not that I'd recommend shaving with it, unless you're going for that I wrestled a polar bear and won look. They start loading their sleds, Heavy wooden contraptions called camutics that look like they've been around since the Ice Age. These aren't your backyard snow sleds. They're built to carry hundreds of pounds of meat across terrain that would make an off-road vehicle cry. The runners are made from bone, and the whole thing is lashed together with seal hide rope. It's basically the Arctic version of duct tape holding together the Arctic version of a pickup truck. The rope itself is fascinating. Thick braided strips of seal hide that can handle pulling weights most modern synthetic ropes would snap under. C. Kinnick explains that one rope has to be strong enough to haul an entire muskox quarter, which can weigh more than 100 pounds. That's like dragging your refrigerator through snow, except the refrigerator is organic and used to be walking around. Their clothing choices make my winter jacket look like a beach cover-up. Multiple layers of caribou hide, seal fur mittens that go halfway up their arms, and boots that appear to be made from every animal in the Arctic. I'm starting to feel like I showed up to a formal dinner in my pajamas. The outer parka alone probably took enough animal hide to cover my living room floor twice. The hunters also pack what looks like a medieval torture device but turns out to be a bone saw. This thing is serious. Designed to cut through bones the size of baseball bats. Newly it demonstrates the proper grip, showing how to get maximum leverage. I make a mental note to never ask these guys to help with home renovation projects. There are smaller tools too, traditional scrapers made from caribou antler, needle-sharp implements for handling hides, and containers that look like they're carved from walrus ivory. Every single piece serves a specific purpose in the butchering process that will happen later. The precision and craftsmanship remind me of a surgeon's tools, except these are for working on patients who weighed several hundred pounds and were moving around this morning. What strikes me most is the weight of everything. These hunters are carrying gear that could outfit a small expedition. The rifle alone weighs about 8 pounds, the ammunition adds another pound or two, and the various blades and tools probably total 20 pounds. Add that to the winter clothing, and each hunter is moving around with an extra 30 to 40 pounds of gear in temperatures that would make a penguin complain. The attention to detail is incredible. They check and recheck every knot on the sled, test every rope junction, verify the sharpness of each blade. It's like watching someone prepare for finals week, except instead of studying history notes, they're making sure nothing breaks when you're miles from home with a dead animal that needs processing before it freezes solid. The final piece of equipment is the most essential: their experience. These hunters have been doing this since they were kids, learning from fathers and grandfathers who learned from their fathers and grandfathers. Every movement is practiced, every tool placement deliberate. They know exactly what they'll need and when they'll need it, because forgetting something out here isn't just inconvenient, it could be dangerous. As they finish their preparations, the sun finally clears the horizon, casting long shadows across the snow. We move out, ducking behind snow mounds. The hunters motion for me to follow closely, and I realize I'm about as sneaky as a rhinoceros in tap shoes. Fortunately, muskox aren't exactly known for their eagle eyes. The wind plays our biggest ally, blowing steadily from the east and carrying our human scent away. Downwind positioning is everything when hunting animals that can smell a sandwich from another time zone. Though honestly, with how bad my breath probably is from 3 days without proper dental hygiene, they should be grateful we're downwind. Crouching behind a ridge, we close the distance meter by meter. My knees are already complaining. The hunters seem perfectly comfortable in this awkward duck walk position that would require 6 months of yoga classes for me to master. It's like the world's most boring game of follow the leader, except if I mess up, dinner runs away. The snow crunches under every step. Somehow, the hunters manage to place their feet where the snow is softest. I follow their footsteps exactly, stepping where they step. We pause frequently to observe the muskox. They're still feeding, which is good news. These animals can stand in one spot for hours, systematically clearing the snow in a perfect circle. It's like watching someone clean out their refrigerator at 3 in the morning, methodical, focused, and completely oblivious. The bull lifts his head occasionally, massive horns catching the sunlight. His winter coat is incredible. Layers of guard hairs over thick undercoat called kiviut that's 8 times warmer than sheep's wool. These animals are basically wearing the world's most expensive winter jacket, naturally woven from materials that fashion designers would kill for. Sikanik holds up his fist, signaling us to freeze. One of the cows has stopped feeding, looking around suspiciously. We all become statues. After 30 seconds, she goes back to pawing at the snow. The hunters communicate through tiny gestures. A raised finger meaning wait, a slight nod indicating direction. It's like being in a silent film where the subtitles got lost and everyone's improvising. We're down to about 200 yards, close enough to hear scraping hooves, occasional grunts. The bull is massive up close, built like a boxy fortress with legs. His shoulders hump with muscle, his head seeming too large for any sensible animal. Positioning becomes critical. The hunters spread out slightly, ensuring crossfire angles while maintaining safe shooting zones. That's the kind of mistake that ruins both the hunt and future family gatherings. Wind direction shifts slightly, and we all freeze again. The slightest change could carry our scent directly to the muskox. These animals might look like walking haystacks, but they've survived in the Arctic for thousands of years by being cautious. The group strategy becomes apparent. We're not just hunting one animal, we're managing the behavior of the entire herd. Muskox are social creatures, and if one bolts, they all bolt. The hunters position themselves to control escape routes. My job is simple: stay quiet, stay still, and try not to mess up whatever complex plan these experienced hunters have developed. The hunters raise their rifles, settling into shooting positions. The shot echoes across the tundra, and the bull muskox drops like a sack of bricks. What happens next is a masterclass in efficiency that would make any emergency room surgeon jealous. Except instead of saving lives, we're processing a 700-pound furry mountain. First order of business: safety check. The hunters approach slowly, watching for any signs of life. A half-dead muskox with anger management issues is nobody's idea of a good time. Once confirmed, they circle the animal, assessing the situation. The bull has fallen in a decent spot, not in a dip where blood pools, not on a hill where everything slides downward. Sikanik starts immediately, pulling out that massive knife I saw earlier. His first cut is surgical, a careful incision along the belly. One wrong move here and you've got intestinal soup all over your boots, which is not the kind of seasoning anyone asked for. The skin comes away surprisingly cleanly, the layers separating like peeling a giant orange with really thick skin. The process is methodical. Working from the initial cut, they peel the hide back in large sections. These aren't random slices. Every cut has purpose, designed to preserve as much usable hide as possible. The skin will become everything from clothing to boat covers, so wasting it is basically throwing away a future parka. Blood streams in the cold air as the internal cavity opens up. The smell is intense. It's like opening a really funky gym locker, except the funky is more earthy and the gym is an actual animal. The hunters don't even flinch. They're focused on the prize. Organs that are considered delicacies or essential for survival. The liver comes out first, massive and dark, worth its weight in gold nutritionally. The heart follows, still impressive even though it stopped beating. These organs get special treatment, wrapped in cloth to keep them clean. The kidneys, smaller but equally valuable, go into a separate pouch. Nothing gets wasted here. These hunters operate on a waste not, want not philosophy that would make any environmentalist proud. Now comes the heavy lifting. Literally, the carcass gets divided into quarters: front shoulders, back haunches, ribs, and the precious tenderloin strips along the spine. Each quarter is a workout in itself. The hind legs alone probably weigh more than I do after a good meal. Moving these chunks around requires coordination that would make a choreographer jealous. The head and antlers get special attention. These aren't just trophies, they're resources. Horns become tools, scrapers, even art pieces. The skull might become ceremonial items or practical implements. Every part has multiple lives ahead of it. It's like recycling taken to the extreme. Bone extraction happens carefully, large bones for tool making, smaller ones for needles or awls. The marrow is pure gold, high-fat nutrition that's crucial for Arctic survival. These folks have been practicing sustainable living since before it was a trendy hashtag. The fat gets scraped and collected. In this climate, fat isn't the enemy. It's fuel, both literally and figuratively. Rendered down, it becomes cooking oil, lamp fuel, waterproofing agent. A single muskox can provide enough fat to light a village for weeks. Try getting that from your local grocery store. Between cuts, the hunters work efficiently, their movements coordinated. Nulia handles one side, while Sikanik works the other. They've done this so many times, they barely need to communicate. It's like watching a well-rehearsed dance routine, except with more blood and fewer sequins. The smaller details matter too. Sinew gets carefully extracted, nature's thread, stronger than most synthetic materials. Certain bones get set aside for specific purposes. Even the hide's different sections have different uses. Thicker parts for boot soles, softer sections for inner clothing. Blood control becomes crucial. They position tarps and clothes to collect what they can. Wasted blood means wasted protein. In the Arctic, waste is a luxury nobody can afford. The process takes about 2 hours. By the end, the original muskox has been transformed into dozens of components, each destined for a specific purpose. It's like watching a butcher shop, taxidermist and craft store all rolled into one mobile operation. The temperature works in their favor. The meat chills quickly, preventing spoilage. The cold also numbs hands, but these hunters work through it, their movements sure despite the freezing conditions. As they wrap the final pieces, double-checking everything is properly secured and protected, the real transportation challenge begins. Getting all this meat back to the village is about as simple as moving your entire house, using only a skateboard and good intentions. We're talking about hundreds of pounds of fresh muskox scattered across the Arctic tundra, and the only transportation options that don't require electricity or gas stations that are roughly 1,000 miles away. The Kamutiks come out now. Those wooden sleds that seemed impressive earlier, but now look impossibly small. Each piece gets loaded like we're playing the world's heaviest game of Tetris. A single hind leg weighs over 100 pounds, which means my back immediately files a formal complaint with management citing workplace safety violations and an unreasonable workload. Loading is strategic. Heaviest pieces go on the bottom, lighter cuts stacked on top, everything wrapped in tarps and secured with seal hide ropes. It's like packing for a trip where your luggage weighs more than a small car and absolutely cannot fall off during transit. Wind picks up as we finish loading, and suddenly everyone is moving faster. The hunters check their knots triple times, pulling ropes tight until they practically sing under tension. The journey back takes 3 hours, but feels like 30. We take turns pulling, switching between human power and tying sleds to snowmobiles when terrain allows. It's like being part of a very slow, very cold conga line where the music is just howling wind and everyone's too tired to dance. Snowmobiles help on flat sections, but pulling hundreds of pounds across snow strains the engines going uphill. Twice we stop and redistribute weight when one sled threatens to tip. The traditional pull method comes out when machines struggle. 3 hunters in a line, ropes over shoulders, leaning forward. It's the human equivalent of a tug of war, except nobody's on the other side and the rope is attached to dinner. Terrain changes everything. Smooth snow means decent progress. Rough patches slow us to a crawl. The sled runners, carved from bone, catch on obstacles. Every bump means readjusting loads. Temperature drops further as afternoon wears on. Steam rises from fresh meat, instantly freezing. Everyone starts looking like characters from a winter-themed horror movie, except the horror is just being really, really cold. Rest breaks are brief. 5 minutes to catch our breath and drink water kept inside parkas to prevent freezing. Hands go numb despite thick mittens. Sun angle tells the hunters exactly how much daylight remains. No watches needed. Arctic twilight might be beautiful, but it's also nature's way of saying bedtime is coming whether you're ready or not. Finally, the village appears on the horizon. Small structures breaking the endless white, smoke rising from chimneys. The real work begins now, as we prepare to distribute this precious cargo. The moment our sleds pull into the village, doors start opening. People emerge from their homes, drawn by news that we've returned with the muskox. I feel like I've arrived at the world's most anticipated delivery service. Children run ahead, announcing our arrival to anyone who hasn't already heard. "Good hunt," an elder named UKI says, approaching our sleds. She examines the meat with practiced eyes, nodding approvingly. Her hands, gnarled from decades of work, trace along the hide patterns. Within minutes, the organization begins. Women spread out large tarps while men set up wooden sawhorses. Everyone moves with practiced rhythm. I feel like I'm watching a well-rehearsed play where everyone knows their lines. "First cuts for the elders," Nulia explains. I watch as the oldest members carefully select their portions, the tenderest sections from along the spine and ribs. Their eyes examine the meat like diamond appraisers checking for quality. Young hunters from our party line up next. Each receives substantial portions for their families, wrapped in clean cloth. Enough meat to last several weeks, but careful not to take too much. The bone distribution fascinates me. A woman selects specific shoulder blades. "For drums," she explains, seeing my curious look. Another family takes leg bones for tool handles, while smaller bones go to crafters for needles and awls. Several families work together on the hide, stretching it across a wooden frame. The rhythmic sound of their scrapers fills the air. One woman catches me staring and laughs. Hard work, but warm clothes don't make themselves. Fat gets passed around like currency. Families trade. Chunks of fat for dried fish, fat for carved ornaments. It's a complex system of exchanges that happens naturally, with everyone ensuring others get what they need most. The tongue receives special treatment. An elder carefully removes it, slicing it into precise portions. These go to the most respected families, including the successful hunters and community leaders. "Delicacy," Sakinik tells me, noticing my interest. "Very special." I'm amazed by how methodically they crack open the long bones for marrow. Children wait patiently with small containers, and I see their eyes light up when they receive their shares. One little girl shows me her portion proudly, already dipping her finger in for a taste. Even the smallest scraps have destinations. Meat strips hang on drying racks that appear as if by magic. Nothing gets wasted, not a single piece. Blood gets mixed with fat and seasonings to create what they tell me is a traditional sausage. Children dart between adults, trying to snag extra pieces when they think nobody's looking. Their resourcefulness reminds me of kids anywhere, just with different prizes. Bones destined for soup stock get stacked near the village fire pit. As the sun sets, the massive bull has been completely transformed. Families load their shares onto smaller sleds, heading home with weeks of food, materials, and trade goods. The last thing I notice is smoke beginning to rise from various chimneys, dinner preparations starting, and our hunt coming full circle.